Welcome back to Pop Dissected. Today, we're going to be covering another highly requested topic. Why did Christina Aguilera's sixth studio record, Bionic, underperform? Bionic is a divisive record, to say the least. The record failed to meet the commercial and chart success of Christina's previous records. So let's dive in and uncover what factors led to Bionic's underperformance. Before we begin, be sure to drop a like and subscribe for more future content on all your favorite pop stars. Before getting to Bionic, we have to take a look at Christina's initial career peak to uncover what led to her eventual commercial decline. With her second record, Stripped, released October 22nd of 2002, Christina earned herself a total of 7 VMA nominations, 2 EMA nominations, and 3 Grammy nominations. Beautiful won for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance. Stripped charted on the Billboard 200 for 2 entire years following its release. It was the 10th best-selling record of 2003, and Christina was dubbed the 5th most successful pop star of that year. If you hadn't gotten it by now, Stripped rocketed Christina into new heights in her career. Some critics have cited the album as being a perfect example of how an artist should shift from a teen pop star into an adult one. Following the successful Stripped era, Christina soared once more with Back to Basics, released August 9th of 2006. While the record is defined as just a pop and R&B record, it very much has influences of soul and jazz. Many noted this record as being a welcome transitional and innovative work. With these kind of observations, it's clear the change in Christina's musical direction was welcomed and applauded. The record debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, with 346,000 copies. It sold over 5 million copies worldwide and spawned a top 10 and top 20 single. The record earned a Grammy nomination for Best Pop Vocal Album. Ain't No Other Man and Candyman both got nominated for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance, and Candyman won its nomination. The Back to Basics tour became the highest-grossing female tour of 2007. So we see, Christina had 2 back-to-back very successful record cycles, each having their own successes. However, this type of success would come to a screeching halt very soon. In 2008, Christina released Keeps Getting Better, a decade of hits, a greatest hits album of her own tracks. The record contained 4 new tracks, all with electropop influences. 2 of these tracks were reworked versions of her existing songs, Beautiful and Genie in a Bottle. Christina let us know that this electronic sound would be where her next record would go. However, upon the release of her Decade of Hits record, one reviewer commented it was strikingly similar to the work of Lady Gaga, who had just released her debut record a month prior. These Lady Gaga comparisons start to come into full force once we enter the Bionic era. However, they begin in 2008, headed by Perez Hilton. Following the 2008 VMA Awards, Hilton began making claims Christina's performance and music was directly influenced by Lady Gaga. Fuel to the fire was added when Gaga was asked about these ongoing comparisons, and when she actually agreed Christina had been influenced by her. Now, there's nothing wrong with being inspired by another artist. We can look at almost any artist and see where they've been inspired by each other. But these claims of inspiration quickly turned into ones of flat-out copying. But more on that later. The first single off Bionic was Not Myself Tonight, released April 6th of 2010. Now, this was a bit jarring for some fans because Christina had claimed the track Glam would indeed be the lead single, but obviously it wasn't. While in its first week on radio, Not Myself Tonight became the most added song on the mainstream top 40. However, it debuted and peaked at 23 on the Hot 100 with 77,000 copies sold. The track received mixed reviews, its most notable criticism being Christina's vocals and lyricism. Others noted it seemed like the track was a mask Christina was wearing to maintain relevance among other emerging pop stars at the time. We're starting to see, while Christina was praised for her reinvention with her previous 2 records, she'll only be met with criticism this time around for this type of reinvention. The music video for the track didn't help her that much either, as it received almost universally negative reviews from critics, citing it as a blatant copy of Lady Gaga's styles and visuals. However, Christina remarked the video was actually inspired by Madonna's own Express Yourself music video. However, this fell on deaf ears as the Lady Gaga comparisons took the center stage. Here we can see that in fact, the drama of the industry is very much overshadowing the art. The second single, Woohoo, was released May 25th, 2010. It debuted and peaked at 79 on the Hot 100, before falling off the chart the very next week. The track received mixed reviews, the highlights being Christina's vocals and that Nicki Minaj was featured on the track. However, the lyrics were not exactly liked by a lot of people. Some stated they felt it was so unnecessarily sexual, and some even said it was the exact opposite of sexy. You Lost Me and I Hate Boys would be the final two singles off the record, released June 27th and June 28th respectively. Both failed to chart on the Hot 100. You Lost Me was generally well received, more so than the preceding two singles. However, this track is a ballad, which was released in the summer. Not a smart move. I Hate Boys received mixed reviews, some seeing it as a fun pure pop track, while others deemed it as something way too immature for Christina. Now, let's get into Bionic's actual release. The record dropped on June 4th, 2010, debuting and peaking at number 3 on the Billboard 200, with 111,000 copies sold. The record dropped to number 9 the next week, with 36,388 copies, then to 22 the week after. By its 11th week, it had fallen out of the first 100 positions of the Billboard 200, and by its 15th week, it had left the chart. The record received mixed reviews. Most positive reviews, however, were pretty backhanded. Some said the record was strong in some parts, with the rest being stupid. Others said it was brave here and there, with the rest being stupid. Important to note, Bionic was initially revealed to be called Light and Darkness, with a slated release of September of 2009. The record was then renamed Bionic, with a March 2010 release date, before being pushed to June of that year. Surely, the sudden renaming and pushed back releases impacted the record's performance as well. Now, I'm sure you guys have guessed this by now, but the most obvious critique of Bionic was some felt Christina had tried to take advantage of Gaga's sound and image. Whether you agree or not is up to your own interpretation, but we can see how Perez Hilton's claims of Christina copying Gaga back in 2008 had a lasting impact, even 2 years later. Some also noted the record felt like Christina was chasing the electro-pop trend, which in turn dated the record upon its release. If we think of 2010, electro-pop had already been highly popularized with artists such as Kesha and Lady Gaga. At that time, those two artists arguably were leading that genre. Simply put, Christina was unable to compete against artists who had been leading that genre before her. However, despite all the comparisons and criticism of the direction Christina took, Bionic is now being seen as a record that was far ahead of its time. Christina herself said this in 2012, and in recent years, outlets such as Pitchfork and the Houston Chronicle have agreed. Just last year, Christina had admitted she believed Bionic was very much sabotaged by Perez Hilton, as he led a campaign against her, comparing her work to Gaga and throwing around accusations of plagiarism. Now, Christina announced she'd be going on a tour in support of Bionic in May of 2010. However, the tour was put on hold so Christina could promote the soundtrack for the upcoming film Burlesque, which was also a collaboration with artist Cher. Christina stated the tour would be rescheduled for 2011, but the tour never happened. Some believe Christina ditching the tour for Burlesque was because Bionic's poor reception, while others see it as she just wanted to refocus her attention on another project. So with that, the Bionic era lasted from April until November of 2010, just 6 months. And with pretty average promotion, the record was seemingly forgotten about. So through it all, what really caused Bionic to underperform? First, the Lady Gaga comparisons headed by Perez Hilton spread into the mainstream, and many people fell into this belief. Christina was plagued with these accusations during the Bionic era, and even years before. Thus, it may have been some audiences didn't care for someone who they believed was a clone of a new, highly successful artist. Secondly, it's a complete departure from her previous works. Christina had managed to innovate with her previous records in a way many appreciated and saw as worthy. The 180 flip with Bionic and its sound surely felt like a betrayal to some audiences. And as I mentioned before, some people also felt that Christina was just chasing trends and putting on a mask instead of being authentic with her voice and her music. Third, the singles. I've said it before and I'll keep saying it. Singles can make or break a record. Not Myself Tonight, despite whether you love it or not, just did not connect with some audiences, from its sound to its lyricism. Thus, the record would probably be dismissed by a lot of people based off the lead single alone. Fourth, the wait between Back to Basics and Bionic. 4 years is a long time to take to release a record. By 2010, artists such as Katy Perry, Kesha, and Lady Gaga had taken the industry by storm. They were the new pop girls. Of course, Christina couldn't have known these new artists would emerge. But by the time Christina had released Bionic, there were new artists who were already highly successful in the electro-pop sound, and there were new artists that everyone was already listening to. Christina just could not compete with them. Lastly, the era was ditched just 6 months in and given pretty substandard promotion. Important to note, Christina was also going through a divorce at this time, so I'm sure all the negative reception of Bionic, comparisons to Gaga, and her divorce only added to her personal struggle and may have encouraged her to pull the plug on the record cycle earlier than anticipated. Currently, Christina is embarking on her first Las Vegas residency show, entitled The Experience, running from May 31st of this year until March 7th of 2020. But through it all, Christina is still a powerful artist. She is a staple of the 2000s. Even if she hasn't reached the commercial success of her previous records, she still very much has proven herself as a pop icon. That is undeniable. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Comment down below your thoughts on Bionic and anything else you may know about the era. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe for more future content on all your favorite pop stars.